Transformers has been around since 1984. With the movies, comics, cartoons, and toy lines, there have been an extremely large number of characters and concepts that have been reused throughout 30 years of media. A well-known example are combiners, which have been across most Transformers media and have made large appearances in the movies. So here are the top 10 best combiners from all of Transformers media. If you don't know what a combiner is, then here is the explanation. They are a subgroup of Transformers that are able to combine into one powerful monstrosity. Of the countless Transformers combiners, I narrowed it down to the 34 best ones, and ranked them based on several attributes that I think are important for a combiner. To narrow them down, I got rid of all combiners that have less than 4 members. This gets rid of Rail Racer, Road Caesar, and some others. Also, I did not count Minicon and Micromaster combiners. These are the categories I used. Categories I used are the component forms, appearances, incarnations, intelligence, and number of toys. Number 10. UltraB. In Season 3 of the 2015 cartoon called Robots in Disguise, which ran from 2015 to 2017, the B-Team, led by Bumblebee, became combiners after a battle against the Stunticon Heatseeker. It took the team 15 episodes to figure out how to combine into UltraB, which they used to defeat the Stunticons who combined into Menasor, and in the series finale, Galvatronus. This combiner is different than all other combiners. It is not controlled by a single mind, and instead, the B-Team members have to work together to get anything accomplished. This combiner gets 3 points for component forms, 8 points for appearances, 7 points for intelligence, and this gives it a combined total of 18 points, which is just enough points to get a spot on this list. Number 9. Raiden. After the original Generation 1 cartoon ended in 1987, a new series started in Japan. It was called Headmasters. In the series premiere, the Trainbots were introduced, and they combined to form Raiden in the 8th episode. Raiden fought Devastator and Predaking and was present throughout the series. Raiden is comprised of 6 Japanese-named Autobots led by Shuki. He got 5 points for component forms, 11 for his appearances, and 2 points for his intelligence. Together, this makes 18 points overall. Number 8. Predaking. Predaking was introduced in Episode 5 of Season 3 in the Transformers original 80s cartoon. He is a combination of the 5 G1 Predacons that were built by the Quintessons and were in the series until it ended. After the series ended, Predaking returned in the Headmasters and was defeated by Raiden several times. Eventually, in the series Transformers Zone, he died being vertically bisected. He is composed of the 5 Predacons: Dive Bomb, Headstrong, Rampage, Tantrum, and the team leader, Razorclaw. The term Predacon was used several times in the future of the franchise, but the original team did not come back in a reboot series. Predaking became an individual Predacon leader who was commanded by the Decepticons. In another cartoon called Go, Predacons called the 4 Oni, led by Dragotron, were the villains, and another Predacon combiner called Gorodora existed. His Generation 1 form reappeared in the toy line and cartoon for Power of the Primes in 2018, where he was killed by the Fallen. Predaking got 7 points for toys, 6 points for incarnations, 6 points for appearances, and 4 points for component forms. This adds up to 23 points overall, giving him a spot on this list. Number 7. Defensor. Defensor is one of my favorite combiners. He is comprised of the 5 Protectobots, Autobots that transform into rescue vehicles. The Protectobots are made up of Hotspot, First Aid, Blades, Streetwise, and Groove. They first appeared in the episode The Revenge of Bruticus and combined, forming Defensor in the season finale BOT. He is able to create a force field and is just as powerful as his Decepticon counterpart Bruticus. Defensor has a much smaller part than any of the other G1 combiners and is the only G1 Autobot combiner in the Transformers cartoon that does not have an origin story. They created a headquarters and were similar to the Rescue Bots in the 2012 series. Defensor returned in the series Headmasters and was in 13 episodes. He managed to get a small appearance in some aligned novels and the video game Transformers Online. Defensor barely beat Predaking with 24 points, 5 for toys, 4 for appearances, 10 for component forms, and 5 for incarnations. He may be good, but there are better combiners than him. Number 6. Kaiser. In 1989, a new Transformers series came out. It was called Victory. It was an anime series that only aired in Japan. The series had 2 Decepticon combiners, Dino King and Kaiser. Kaiser was good enough to get a spot on this list. He is the combined form of a team of 6 air and land assault vehicles that are Decepticons. Kaiser's team had been in the show since the 2nd episode, and the team combined, forming Kaiser in the middle of the series. He fought against Star Saber, Road Caesar, Landcross, and Galaxy Shuttle, which were Autobot characters, and some of them were combiners in the show. He won battles against these characters. However, near the end of the series, he was shot and sent flying into a fortress's main cannon and died. The Decepticon is a fan favorite because, unlike some combiners, he is very intelligent and powerful. He was so popular that a toy for him was released in the 2016 Combiner Wars line. He has 1 point for toys, 9 points for intelligence, 10 points for appearances, and 7 points for component forms. This makes 27 points overall. Kaiser is an excellent combiner, though he is not in enough Transformers media to get in the top 5. Number 5. Computron. Near the end of Season 3 in the original G1 cartoon, 5 scientists were built by Grimlock when he had a brain boost in the episode Grimlock's New Brain. They are called the Technobots and are comprised of Scattershot, which is the leader, Strafe, Lightspeed, Afterburner, and Nosecone. They are able to combine, forming an extremely smart and slightly annoying Computron, which has the intelligence of a supercomputer. He fought his Decepticon counterpart, Abominus, several times and was in the rest of the series. In the Japanese sequel series, Headmasters, he was in 11 episodes from episode 3 to episode 35. Computron is by far the smartest combiner, and the Technobots that form him are interesting characters. Recently, he was given 2 toys in the Generations line Combiner Wars and a Creo set. He even was given a part in the Prime Wars series where he was quickly killed off by Menasor and was resurrected when he became part of Starscream's Super Combiner. In the sequel series, Titans Return, he combined with Victorion and the show's other combiners to form a super combiner that fought Triptychon. In the sequel series, Power of the Primes, he was killed by Overlord and Rodimus Kron. He is personally my favorite combiner, and I hope he gets a part in a future series or movies. He gets 2 points for toys, 10 points for intelligence, 3 points for incarnations, 5 points for appearances, and 12 points for component forms, making a combined total of 32 points, giving him the 5th spot on this list. Number 4. Menasor. In the Transformers Generation 1 cartoon, Menasor and Superion were introduced as the second and third combiner teams. They first appeared near the end of Season 2 in the 2-part episode called The Key to Vector Sigma, where they were built by Autobots and Decepticons and were given life by a supercomputer called Vector Sigma. Menasor is the combined form of the Decepticons subgroup called Stunticons, which are Motormaster, Dead End, Wild Rider, Dragstrip, and Breakdown. Menasor was in the rest of the season and got small appearances in 2 episodes of Season 3, although the individual Stunticons were in more episodes. The Stunticons were in the sequel series Headmasters for multiple episodes, and after the end of Generation 1, the Stunticons returned in the comics for the animated franchise. Recently, the Aligned Continuity family had the Stunticons return in a series of Cybertron video games, which 4 of the original Stunticons were in. The Transformers series Prime introduced 2 more of the Stunticons, Wild Rider and Breakdown. Breakdown had a big part in the cartoon. His part ended with him being killed off by Arachnid and brutally torn apart. The Aligned Continuity used the Stunticons again in the sequel series Robots in Disguise, where they were brought back as a powerful subgroup that were the villains in the first 16 episodes of Season 3. Menasor's G1 version was in the Prime Wars trilogy and, like Computron, was killed twice. He was killed by Windblade in the beginning and was brought back to life when Starscream used his parts to make a super combiner. Menasor was given a smaller part in the Titans Return series. Along with the other combiners, he got a brief appearance in the series Power of the Primes, where he was killed by Overlord working with Rodimus Kron. With all these appearances, Menasor is one of the best Decepticon combiners. In my scoring system, Menasor got 36 points, 16 for toys, 7 for incarnations, 12 points for appearances, and 11 points for component forms. Menasor may be good, but its rival, the Autobot combiner Superion, is better. Number 3. Superion. Superion is the Aerialbot combiner team that was forged in the same 2-part episode as the Stunticons. The Aerialbots are a team of Autobots that transform into jets. They were the first Autobot combiner to be introduced. Here are the members that combine to form him. Silverbolt, Air Raid, Fireflight, Skydive, and Slingshot. The aerial bots were in 2 more episodes of the 2nd season and 7 episodes in the 3rd season. He returned in the Headmasters and was in 7 episodes as well. This was not the last of Superion. A new version of Superion was made in the 2004 second installment of the Unicron trilogy, Energon. This Superion was one of the 3 Maximus teams which had been in stasis guarding the fuel source Super Energon. Near the end of the series, Superion killed Bruticus and the Constructicon Maximus, and lost 4 of its members. Sadly, along with the other Maximus teams, the 5 Air Team members that combine forming him were not the original aerial bots, and none of them are mentioned by name. After the Unicron trilogy ended, a combiner figure for Superion was made in the toy line of the Revenge of the Fallen movie. It had 4 of the original aerial bots, with Menasor replacing Slingshot. 3 of the original aerial bots made small appearances in the video game for the movies. Also, in the Cybertron games, 2 of the original aerial bots were playable in a level with Jetfire, and 1 was given a toy, and 2 were in aligned books. Also, in the books, they were combined, forming Superion. With all these appearances, Superion is the most well-known Autobot combiner and deserves this spot on the list. Superion got 37 points, 8 for toys, 8 for incarnations, 13 for appearances, and 8 for component forms. He may be good, but there are 2 better combiners than him. Number 2, Devastator. Devastator was the first combiner to ever be introduced. He is the only combiner that is introduced in Season 1 of the original Generation 1 cartoon. He is comprised of 6 members of the Decepticon subgroup called the Constructicons. They are Scrapper, Hook, Bone Crusher, Long Haul, Mixmaster, and Scavenger. He appears in the season finale Heavy Metal War, and Devastator was given a major part in Season 2 and was in 2 episodes of Season 3 along with the animated movie. Devastator returned in 5 episodes of The Headmasters and 1 episode special called Transformers Zone. In that episode, he was dragged into a lava vein, and it is unknown what happened to him. This was the end of Devastator in the 20th century. Devastator would have many incarnations in future media. First of all, he got a toy in the 2001 series Robots in Disguise. Sadly, it is only 4 robots, with Mixmaster, Long Haul, and Scrapper being replaced with Hightower. The name Constructicon Maximus was used by a similar combiner in the Energon series, but the only original Constructicon in the team is Bone Crusher. In the movie Revenge of the Fallen, several Constructicons confusingly combined, forming Devastator, and were seen in the Battle of Egypt. Devastator crawled on top of the pyramid and was shot at by a Navy ship and died. An adapted version of Devastator was in some aligned novels. It had 7 members with the original Constructicons, along with a new addition of Frontloader. The Generation 1 version of Devastator returned in the Prime Wars trilogy and was killed by Rodimus Kron and Overlord, along with Computron and Menasor, which I talked about in their section of the list. This was the last major appearance of Devastator. In the scoring system, Devastator got 10 points for toys, 10 points for incarnations, 15 points for appearances, and 9 points for component forms. This adds up to a total of 44. This was enough to get him a spot on the list. But there is one better combiner than him. Number 1. Bruticus. Bruticus is a Decepticon combiner that is comprised of some interesting component parts. He is comprised of the Combaticons, 5 Decepticon renegades that were rebuilt by Starscream into old World War II vehicles. They are the Tactician Onslaught, who is the leader, the Violent Brawl, the Egotistical Blastoff, the Conman Swindle, the Unhinged Vortex. These iconic bots were all given character development and have had many appearances. They appeared near the end of Season 2, where they were built in the episode Starscream's Brigade, and in the following episode, The Revenge of Bruticus, they attacked Cybertron and tried to destroy Earth. After being defeated, they were reprogrammed to be loyal to Megatron. They built their own base, and in the season finale, BOT, they were blown up by their Autobot counterpart, Defensor. And Swindle, the only survivor, sold the pieces of its teammates only to be forced to get them back by Megatron. After managing to get their parts back, the Decepticons rebuilt Bruticus. The Combaticons were given a smaller role, but did get several appearances in Season 3. This continued in The Headmasters, where they were in 12 episodes. This was not the end of Bruticus. He returned in Energon as the Bruticus Maximus, and was comprised of the Destruction Team members, which was killed by Superion in the episode Spark. However, like the other Maximus teams, none of the original Combaticons were in the Destruction Team. In animated continuity, Swindle had a part in the cartoon and was in 4 episodes where he worked for the Society of Ultimate Villainy. In the live-action movie series, Bruticus got a toy which was a recolor of the Energon Bruticus Maximus. In the toy line for Revenge of the Fallen, and 2 of his component bots were in other movies. Brawl was in the first movie, where he fought in the battle at Mission City and was killed by Bumblebee. Onslaught was given an appearance in the 2017 film The Last Knight, where he was quickly killed off by Drift and Crosshairs. Vortex was in the IDW movie comics and was killed off. In the Cybertron games, the 5 original Combaticons were all playable characters and combined into Bruticus, which was thrown into space, and it is unknown what happened to them. Due to all these appearances, Bruticus deserves the number 1 spot on this list. Bruticus got 13 points for component forms, 14 for appearances, 9 points for incarnations, and 9 points for toys. Together, this adds up to 45, which barely beats Devastator, giving him the title as Best Combiner. Thanks for watching this top 10. Do you agree with our list? And do you like these combiners? So please check out some of our other videos if you liked this one. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell us what your favorite combiner is. This is your host, Mark Elliott, signing off.